All right, y'all. So at the end of chapter 8, we know that the Jews were rejoicing. They were happy because there was a new edict in place that they could defend themselves. And it was to the point where other people in other ethnic groups was like, yo, we gonna supposed to be Jews at this point, because if you weren't a Jew, it's dangerous to not be a Jew because they can annihilate you. Okay? All right. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into chapter 9 and see what happens next. Okay? The king's command and law went into effect on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month Adar. On the day when the Jews' enemies had hoped to overpower them, just the opposite happened. The Jews overpowered those who hated them. In each of King Ahasuerus' provinces, the Jews assembled in their cities to attack those who intended to harm them. Not a single person could withstand them. Fear of them fell on every nationality. That's pretty self-explanatory. We already knew this was going to happen because of the edict. But like I said, now the Jews were on the winning team. Thanks to Mordecai, thanks to Esther for really going before the king and taking that boldness. Because remember, she was like, if I perish, I perish. But I'm here. Or Mordecai was like, you could be here for such a time as this. You know what I'm saying? And she still went for it. And it worked out in their favor. Verse 3. All the officials of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and the royal civil administrators aided the Jews because they feared Mordecai. For Mordecai exercised great power in the palace, and his fame spread throughout the provinces as he became more and more powerful. All right, we are moving on to verse 5. The Jews put all their enemies to the sword, killing and destroying them. They did what they pleased to those who hated them. In the fortress of Susa, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men, including, and y'all forgive me for saying these names, I'm probably about to butcher them, Parshandatha, Dalphon, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha, Parmashta, Erisai, Eridai, and Vizatha. They killed these 10 sons of Haman, son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews. However, they did not seize any plunder. Not only were they able to kill their enemies, but they killed all 10 of Haman's sons. That's big. So the actions that Haman took also fell on his family. And this is something that is really important in this life today. Even if it's just generational, be careful of the choices that you make, because they can affect your entire family. This is like win to the maximum level, because first it was, Haman created a gallows for Mordecai to be on, and then he ended up getting hanged on them same gallows, and now all 10 of your sons are dead in an edict which you once wrote, which was now pretty much reversed because there was a new edict put in place. This story just gets crazy. But like I said, right now the Jews are winning. Okay, let's read on and find out what happens next. All right, here we are, verse 11. On that day, the number of people killed in the fortress of Susa was reported to the king. The king said to Queen Esther, in the fortress of Susa, the Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men, including Haman's 10 sons. What have they done in the rest of the royal provinces? Whatever you ask will be given to you. Whatever you seek will also be done. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I think that's enough. But he is still extending his favor to Esther. I mean, after they killed 500 men, including Haman's sons, he's still asking her, what else do you want? Whatever you want, I'm going to give it to you. If that's not favor or favorite, I mean, it's beyond favor. That's like favorite. Like, I don't know. But let's read on. Let's see what goes on. Verse 13. Esther answered, if it pleases the king, may the Jews who are in Susa also have tomorrow to carry out today's law, and may the bodies of Haman's 10 sons be hung on the gallows. Why? I just have to take a moment because this is big. She said, hold up. Today was good. But can you give us like one more day of this killing thing so we can just like annihilate more, because 500 is not enough. And then on top of that, the 10 sons that we did kill from Haman, can we just go ahead and put them on the gallows with their daddy? Because, you know, this is crazy, right? So it says the king gave the orders for this to be done. So a law was announced in Susa, and they hung the bodies of Haman's 10 sons. Lord Jesus, Haman, look what you done did. The Jews in Susa assembled again on the 14th day of the month of Adar and killed 300 men in Susa, but they did not seize any plunder. The rest of the Jews in the royal provinces assembled, defended themselves, and gained relief from their enemies. They killed 75,000 of those who hated them, but did not seize any plunder. So we went from 500 to 75,000. Wow. They fought on the 13th day of the month of Adar and rested on the 14th, and it became a day of feasting and rejoicing. Imagine that. You kill all the people, and then you're like, all right, we finna have a party. Hey! But, I mean, this is such an interesting story. If you really take the time to dissect each verse and you're just not like rushing through, you're just like, wow, this is lethal. All right, so we have verse 18. But the Jews in Susa had assembled on the 13th and 14th days of the month. They rested on the 15th day of the month, and it became a day of feasting and rejoicing. This explains why the rural Jews who live in villages observe the 14th day of the month of Adar as a time of rejoicing and feasting. It is a holiday when they send gifts to one another. Not a holiday. Okay. The institution of the festival of Purim. Verse 20. Mordecai recorded these events and sent letters to all the Jews in all of King Ahasuerus' provinces, both near and far. He ordered them to celebrate the 14th and 15th days of the month of Adar every year, because during those days the Jews gained relief from their enemies. That was a month when their sorrow was turned into rejoicing and their mourning into a holiday. They were to be days of feasting, rejoicing, and of sending gifts to one another and to the poor. So the Jews agreed to continue the practice they had begun, as Mordecai had written to do. For Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them. He cast the pur, that is the lot, to crush and destroy them. But when the matter was brought before the king, he commanded by letter that the evil plan Haman had devised against the Jews return on his own head, and that he should be hanged with his sons on the gallows. I mean, can y'all think of a modern day Haman? There's a lot of people who do stuff out here. Don't think about the consequences of the actions that it can have on them and their family. I mean, this is a really touchy story, but for so many reasons. There's so many prime and key factors. I mean, looking at Esther, someone who wasn't supposed to be in a certain position because of their ethnic background, but then she rise to the top. So there's like a lesson for life. There's a lesson for women. I mean, the lessons in this story are endless. All right, we're going to continue on with verse 26. For this reason, these days are called Purim, from the word pur, because of all of the instructions in this letter, as well as what they had witnessed and what had happened to them. The Jews bound themselves, their descendants, and all who joined with them to a commitment that they would not fail to celebrate these 2 days each and every year according to the written instructions and according to the time appointed. These days are remembered and celebrated by every generation, family, province, and city, so that these days of Purim will not lose their significance in Jewish life, and their memory will not fade from their descendants. Verse 29. Queen Esther, daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai the Jew, wrote this second letter with full authority to confirm the letter about Purim. He sent letters with assurances of peace and security to all Jews who were in the 127 provinces in the kingdom of Ahasuerus, in order to confirm these days of Purim at their proper time, just as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had established them, and just as they had committed themselves and their descendants to the practices of fasting and lamentation. So Esther's command confirmed these customs of Purim, which were then written into the record. That was a beautiful story. Like, really, really beautiful. But it's not done yet. Now let's take it back with a little ancient history. The festival of Purim. Purim comes from the word part or lot, from the word pur, which is lot or Persian. The time that this took place was the 14th day of Adar, which would be between February and March in modern day, by those in the villages and unwalled towns, the 15th day by those in the fortified city. The purpose was to celebrate the deliverance of the Jews from genocide, the reversal through Esther's influence of the evil plan Haman had devised, and to remember and preserve the historical significance of this event. The practices were feasting, rejoicing, sending gifts to one another, sending gifts, especially of food, to the poor, and in modern practice, it was preceded by a minor fast commemorating Esther's 3-day fast in preparation for approaching the king. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and follow up with chapter 10. And I just want you guys to know chapter 10 is pretty short because it's just an epilogue on Mordecai. But I think I'll have a moment of just bringing it all together. You know what I'm saying? All right, so see you guys back for chapter 10.